Evening. Welcome to the AquaStax Hour with me, Long Steve. It's 7:57 p.m. on Tuesday, the 21st of March. Just looking at my Mac calendar there. Right, been a few days since my last stream, last Thursday, and let's catch up with where we got to. First, I want to fire up Chrome. There we go, and start my gulp task. Gulp serve. Gulp serve, and got my AquaStax project. Here we go. So, if I remember rightly, where I got to was I just finished writing a function which works out the groups of blocks that are the same color. I think I originally might have called them clusters. I've now kind of changed the terminology so they're groups. So as you can see, this number in the top left, 3, means that there are 3 groups of blocks at the moment. If I add this one connected to the current red block, there's still 3 groups of blocks. If I plop this one somewhere, then there will be 4 groups of blocks because this is a different color. It doesn't link up. Even though there are 3 clusters, there are 4 groups of the same tile of the same color. Let's plot that there. It'll still say 4. Here, this one will remain 4, and then I can add lots of other ones, 5, and so on. So I remember doing this, and I was using my flood fill routines, and I worked at a function called group flood fill, and it's relatively complicated, and it has 1 or 2 copied and pasted bits of logic from somewhere else. I think that square function comes from somewhere, but it's not too bad. It's not completely unclean. I still think there's some scope for some refactoring, but I'm not going to do that today. I'm a bit tired at the end of the day. Refactoring would probably end up just not being very interesting and rather boring. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push ahead a little bit further and see if I can't get the outlining of these colored blocks done properly. So we're at the moment where the blocks drop into the grid, they lose their outline when they land because the grid is rendered just using triangles. Oh, hi, George ASD, good to see you. I'm just recapping where I got to on Thursday last week, which was I managed to write some logic using a flood fill, which works out how many clusters or how many groups of colored blocks there are, even when blocks fall and merge together. So as you can see, there's 7 at the moment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different colored groups. If I land this one here, it'll merge with that one, so there'll still be 7 groups. There we go. If I put another one down that doesn't match, then that goes up to 8 and so on. And although the code isn't too bad, it's relatively straightforward to follow. There is quite a bit of duplication and some borrowed bits from other areas, so I think there's some scope for refactoring. But I'm not going to do that today. I'll probably leave that till Thursday when I'm a bit fresher because it's early afternoon, my Thursday stream. So today I'm just going to push ahead and see if I can get the outlines drawn around these blocks that land in the grid. So as you can see, there's an outline on the falling block, but when it lands, the outline disappears because it's rendered using a different routine, and that doesn't yet draw outlines around the complete group of color. Right, so let's see where we get to with that. These usually streams always take me a moment or two to get into because it's been like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 4 days, 5 days plus since I last looked at this bit of code. So let's see where we got to. So it was group flood fill, and this is render filled cells. Where's this called? I think this is called at the end of it's called at the end of the flood fill now because it just happens once. The flood fill occurs every time a block lands, I think. Let's find that window there a bit. Flood fill in game.js. There it is, yes. So in stick block, which is the function that's called when a block lands in the grid, it inserts the block into the grid, allocates a new random one, then called my flood fill, which is the hook that works out where all the groups are, and then it actually uses the label on the screen to count the number of groups or to display the group count. Right. Well, that one didn't actually merge. That increased from 9 to 10 because they don't line up exactly, which is correct. Anyway, I must have spent too long on that. So what do I want to do? I want to draw an outline around the block. So now I already have a function that draws an outline around a block, and it's in block.js. Here it is, right. Add block outline. So this takes a node, a tile number, since it refers down to the tile data array, one of these things. And then it takes rotation. Okay, so it looks specifically at the block size, grid size, TD. It looks specifically at the tile data. There it is. Cell data pulls out the particular data for an individual cell at the X and Y coordinates from this grid data array. Here it is. It uses rotation to get it right. So can I reuse that? There must be a way of reusing that somehow. I suppose the one way to do it would be to refactor this slightly so it will run over the grid data directly. So this is using block data or tile data from here. But it could run over my actual game grid, which contains all of the cell data once the blocks have landed. Although I think that would probably prove awkward because this function only looks at the triangle types. So what does it do? It uses the cell data. Yeah, it uses the bottom byte, which contains a triangle, but not the type of triangle, not the color or the tile that it belongs to. So we're really only expected to work on a bit of data which is a self-contained block, not grid data which contains lots of blocks. So if I simply reuse this function, it would probably draw an outline around this whole cluster. But I wanted to draw outlines around the colored groups. Oh, hi Alex3, good to see you. Did somebody else join? Oh no, I was surprised to see the number of people in the room, but it was my bot as well, Tim. Let's see. I could, as this flood fill, so this flood fill builds up a list of groups called fill groups, and each fill group is an object. And oh hi, Iliadunes, I think that's how you pronounce your name. Good to see you. So yeah, one of these. That's the. Where does it create the cells? Is that's the cells again? Probably down here where it meets a new. Here we go, new group. So it remembers the tile number and an array of cells. So all of those cells go into one of these groups, and then it counts the groups. So the fill count is simply the length of fill group. Yeah, I remember there was a bit of toing and froing last Thursday to do with the groups that had 0 length cells in them, wasn't it? And I had to fix that somehow by down here. Yeah, we only add the group after the flood fill if actual cells were found by the flood fill. That's right, because it can get redundant groups otherwise. Okay, it's a bit of a complicated bit of code that. I shall definitely have to think about refactoring that because I'm looking at it only 3 or 4 days later and I'm thinking it's a bit confusing. But it's working, so I'm going to leave it and just see what I can do with these outlines, and then all in one go I'll refactor it. Excuse me while I have a sip of tea. Do have a go with the hat colors as well if you're still working. Let's do a hat in the chat. Hat Cylon. There we go. Yep. Or you can visit AquaStax.com without the 2 M's. AquaStax.com with 1 M. Anyway. Well, I think if you just chat in the window, then the hat makes a little flashing light. But anyway, I want to add outlines. So I could. So this is where the nodes triangles get drawn, which draw these triangles here. I could add outlines where appropriate, or I could, I'm thinking I quite like the idea of making blocks. Yes, I know why I want to do that, because if I can turn this group data into a block, then I can use that in the future when this stack collapses. So when pointy blocks fall and groups get broken and shatter, disappear, the stack can fall, and each of those groups of colored blocks can fall as if it's a normal block, like this one falling down now. So let's see if I can make a block. Right. Render field cells, I might as well do the code here. Actually, no, I'm going to do so render field cells, group flood fill. Let's see, let's do a make block from group. Yeah, let's try that. I'm not really designing this, I'm just making it up as I go along. But I can refactor it later, as is my catchphrase. Right, make block from group. So we've got the fill groups. Doesn't matter which one we do, I suppose. Group. And so we've got tile num equals self dot fill groups group dot. Now this is where JavaScript doesn't have carefully defined objects and things. Well, it does, but I'm not using them. I'm just slapping any old object in. The definition can be a little bit confusing sometimes and not obvious. So I want tile num, don't I? So we've got tile num, and then cells self.fill groups group dot cells, and also I'm going to need self equals this. And what I need to do to work out a block, let's split this window into two. Let's minimize that a bit so I get more room. And block data is interesting, isn't it? So block data is, so it's a tile that's var, as it's called. This is block tile data. So let's call it tile data equals, and we're going to create an object that mimics or is the same functionally as this. So we want ID, and I might as well call it group plus group. We'll give it a number, and then I'm going to call them the flags. I don't think flags are used anywhere yet, but we'll call it active. What have we got? Color. Oh, now this is going to be, so I've got tile num, so I can borrow the same things. I could just clone one of those objects. No, actually I don't want to do that because I'll get too much extra stuff that I don't need. Color is going to be aq.block data tile num. Look at it, it's very clever and likes to automatically fill in opening and closing brackets and parentheses and quotes and things, but sometimes it can get my fingers muddled up. Tile num dot color. I'm going to borrow that. Anchors are going to be 0, 0 for now. We might think about the anchor point at some point. The reason this is a two-dimensional array is that this should contain the rotations for the all three additional rotations that a block can go through, and these are calculated at runtime or when the app starts up in this tile data. So the same with this grid data here, but our blocks that are going to be created from the tile data in the grid are never going to be rotated. They're not under player control, so they're only ever going to drop down, so no rotations are ever going to occur, so we don't have to worry about extra anchor points and rotations. Now, grid size is where we're going to have to work something out, and grid data. So that's the start of our tile data. So grid size, this is working out that it's going to be a square grid, isn't it? Yes, and I think there's various bits of code that rely on the square grid. So we're going to have to work out a grid that's square. Then I'm going to work out the grid data. So in order to work out the grid size, I'm going to have to work out the extents of the cells that will go to make up this group, don't I? Right. So work out the cell extents. Yeah. So we're going to want min x, min y, max x, max y. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through the array and just do a greater than. So the minimum ones are going to start out at a large number. Let's do min x equals min y equals something that's big. Self.grid width times by at least 10 for now, and then max x equals max y, that's going to be 0. And then we go down, now we loop over the blocks, right? So for bar I equals 0, I is less than cells dot length plus. Now each cell, what data is that? Let's put us a bit more room. Each cell is a grid pos and a triangle type. Okay, so we want grid pos. And we can work out an x and y from grid pos. So grid pos equals cells I dot grid pos. I'm doing this longhand in case I have to jump into the debugger and look at some of these variables as they go. And then to work out the x and y positions given a grid position, there's a bit of logic already in here somewhere that does that. It's going to be grid position for index. Yeah, that's the one. But I just want those two lines. It probably does similar things down in here somewhere, does it? Yeah, there it is. Right, I'll borrow those two lines. Grid pos. Oh, what's up the blocks wide? I see grid pos. Yeah, mod and divide. Okay. So then we do the usual if x is greater than min x equals x. If x is less than, oh hang on, what are we doing? If it's greater than max x, then max x is the new x. If it's less than min x equals x. And similarly with the y. If y is greater than max y, right. So at the end of this loop, we'll have the extents of the grid. So we want the maximum one of those. So let's do var width equals max x minus min x, and height is going to be equal to max y minus min y, and then what have I called it? Grid size. Grid size is going to be equal to width is greater than height. I'm sure there's a math.max and math.min functions, but I'm just going to do the quick way. Width or height. So we want the maximum one of those, right? And then we can do, actually we can just do tile data.grid size, can't we? Tile data.grid size. Now we have to work out the tile data grid data, which Now, what do I want to do? I want to work out the bottom left-hand position of the tile. And then anchor my grid at that point, and then fill it with data from the cells. But I need to know the offset that that bottom left-hand point is going to be. So how do I work that out? I know the bottom left point is going to be min x min y, isn't it? Because 0, 0 is bottom left, so the bottom left point is going to be min x min y. Max x max y would be the top right. So I can work out the grid pos. So let's go grid offset equals just look at my function that works out an index based on a grid x and y. That should be pretty simple. That's simply y times blocks y plus x, isn't it? Yes. Let's go back here. So grid offset equals max y times self dot grid width. Now this is the whole game grid. Oh, it's min y for a start as well. Or hi Igsy or Igs guy, good to see you. Min y plus min x. So that should be the point in the bottom, the point that was the index into the game grid, where the bottom left of my group starts. Okay, and then all I need to do is loop over all the cells. So for I'm going to use I again. Actually, I'm not going to use I again. I'm going to use I am going to use I again. So we actually need the tile data array. I'm just going to do grid data. Let's call it grid data equals empty array. And now this is probably where I'm going to fall foul of my orientation. When the grid data defines the tile layout, it's indexed from top left to bottom right. Oh, that's annoying. I'm going to loop over at bottom left to top right. How am I going to fix that up? Just invert the Y when I fill the data into the grid. Yeah, let's try doing that. So that's the grid pos of our cell, and then that's going to be plus grid offset. And we want to put that into our grid data at an index based off of grid pos. So let's do var grid pos var game. I might call that game grid pos. Why am I working out the grid offset? I'm now confused. Oh, hi, drmjg. Not sure how you pronounce. There's no vowels in your handle. It could be Dr. Midge. Never know. Now I've forgotten why I'm working out this offset. Actually, that's pulling the data out of the. I don't even need that, do I? I'm pulling the data out of the. I was thinking I need to work that offset out so I can pull data out of the grid, but I don't need to. I think, oh, I might need that. I might need it a bit later to work out the actual X and Y position of the bottom left-hand corner of my new block. Anyway, so this is grid pos within. I know what it is. I've got to minus it, haven't I? Because grid pos is the position within the game grid. I subtract the offset, and that will give us an offset relative to 0, or the bottom, well, offset relative to the bottom left-hand corner. So it's going to be grid data, grid pos, but I've got to invert the y so that. So I'm going to go gy. I've got to go back again and figure out the x and y of my. Actually, I could work it out with x and y, or I could do it this way. And have I used grid pos already? Yeah, I have. It's going to be awkward. I'll let JS hint whinge at me in a minute, and then I'll fix it up. So that's x and y. And I want to make y equals tile data.grid size minus y to invert it. How's it going? You're making your puzzle game. Yes, doing okay. I don't know if the thing is still running. Yeah, so I've worked out some code, some flood fill code, which figures out the number of groups of blocks within the grid when they land. So it merges blocks of the same color. Just about to work out some code to draw an outline around those blocks, actually generating new blocks. Then I should at some point be able to make them collapse and fall around. So it's taken me quite a long time. I've been doing this for ages now, but I'm only doing it a couple of hours a week, so I'm in no hurry. So lots of JavaScript going on. I think after I've done the stack collapsing, that was my plan. My plan was after the stack collapses, I'm going to actually pause for a little bit and make a deployment of the game onto AquaStax.com so that people can play it, and do a little bit of a few live streams about how to deploy and host the game and things like that, which should be interesting. Then I'll carry on with some more game coding after that. It'd be nice to take a bit of a break from JavaScript and do a bit of DevOps, a bit of just running your code somewhere and deploying it and things like that, rather than just raw JavaScript. Anyway, so that's my y. Then I've got to work out the new grid pos. New grid pos. Actually, tile grid pos, and that's going to be y times tile data.grid size plus x. And now this is going to be grid data, tile grid data, tile grid pos, and this is literally just going to be the cell cells I. Now, what was my triangle type? Oh, that's annoying. I've got multiple. Okay, I can actually. Excuse me. I've stashed the. I've pushed 2 cells onto the grid, haven't I? Why have I done that? I suppose it was to make the rendering quick. What I want is a number that makes up the these two, or the 2 nibbles that represent my 2 triangles. But I'm going to have to make it up twice through the loop. Oh, that's annoying. Okay. I suppose I can work out if grid data tile. I'm going to have to cough. I shall mute myself because my microphone will explode. That's better. Right. If it doesn't equal 0, in fact, if it's defined, isn't it? I think I can just do that. If there's something in it, then we want to install this. So we want to do or equals cells I dot triangle type shifted up by 4 bits. Otherwise, we just set it equal to that. And that means, yeah, that means every individual triangle by itself will be in the lower 4 bits, which is fine. Then at the end of that, it's tile data, not tile data dot grid data equals an array, and tile data dot grid data 0 is going to equal to grid data. I think, is that how I define it? Yeah. Tile data grid data, we've got tile data grid size. Right. So nothing's happening with this block yet, but I'm going to run this bit of code and see if I get something sensible at the end of it. Then we can maybe just draw it on the screen. So make block from group. Let's do that on the render call and make a block from just the first group. Just test it with one thing. So after here, let's just call self.makeBlock from group 0. Assuming that, oh yeah, we bailed out already if fill groups.length is 0. Right. Now I've got to wonder about JS hint warnings. So the grid pos already defined. Okay. I can reuse that. X and Y are already defined. Are they? Yes, they are. Let's do grid pos X and Y up here instead. Oh, hi Arthur Moore, good to see you. Grid pos already defined. Did I double? Yeah. So here's a question for you. The guys at liveedu.tv keep asking me if I want to make my stream what's the word? Premium. But quite frankly, I don't, because there are some limitations on making your stream premium, in that you can't stream to any other site at the same time, and I plan at some point to stream to Twitch. I don't think my project is very tutorial-like. It's not something that you sit and watch and learn. It's just me every week doing a couple of hours of coding. Although 1 or 2 episodes have been reasonably informative, I think. And the second thing is, I think it will cut off my audience. Basically, I don't know how many premium subscribers there are to liveedu.tv. I know I'm one, but I probably don't need to be. I'm just have too much money. And I think, if you look at the schedule, there aren't that many. There are like 2 people, I think, on it at the moment who are premium streamers. So I think if I go premium, and people who aren't, people just who have accounts that aren't premium won't be able to view my streams, I'll get no viewers. Simple as that. Nobody will view. So I'm not going to do it at the moment. Unless I get paid. And I mean paid up front. I'm not going to go for, I might get some advertising revenue. If my time is going to be earning live edu money, then they're going to be paying me for it. At the moment, I'm doing it for fun. Right, that was my tirade of premium streaming. I don't think there's much of benefit at the moment to premium streams. And it's a chicken and egg situation for liveedu.tv as well. I mean, they need some quality premium streams to entice premium viewers, but without the premium viewers, no one's going to want to stream to premium streams. Let's see. I'm jumping into Chrome, aren't I? Okay. So when a block lands, does it crash? No, that's a good start. Does not crash. Well, let's have a look at the debugger, see what we have at the end of Grid.js. Let's just see what happens right at the end. Right, I'm going to stick that there. So, tile data. So we've got grid size. Grid size, first of all, it's not a number. Nothing in the grid data. So something didn't work quite right. So let's start from scratch. Right. So group cells. We have 3 cells. Yeah. Grid pos 0. So max x and min x. Did it not a number? Oh, there we go. Look at that grid width. It's blocks wide, isn't it? Silly me. Gonna have to cough again. It wasn't long since I had my tea, so I've got a bit of a frog in my throat. Right. It was only soup tonight for tea, though, so it shouldn't be affecting me too much. There we go. Right. I'm just going to jump in down here. This should actually go through and set them all, shouldn't it? Max x, min x, 0 and 1. Yeah, max x is 1. Max y, min y is 0. So, yeah, so 0. Oh, height. Oh, that's interesting. Let's see. Oh, do I want +1 here? How do I work out? Min y is definitely 0. But do I want max x minus min x plus 1? That's going to be width of 0 though, isn't it? So that's not what I want. Actually, no, I do, because it's width of 1 and height of 1. Yes. So I want max x minus min x plus 1. I think in order to work out the extents. So the width is 1, height is 0. Oh, I haven't refreshed. When you're in a breakpoint, it doesn't trigger the live reload until you start again. So width is 2. Oh, I can look at that. Width 2, height of 1, yeah. Min x and y is 0, max x 1, 0 and 1, max 1. Right, okay, that's good. Tile data, grid size is going to be 2 by 2, yeah. This is actually going to work out a grid block that's exactly the same as that, of course, isn't it? So I just jump down to here. So, grid data is nan is 82. Okay, right. So probably not working something else out correctly here. Can I not work out tile grid pos? Yeah, I've done a bit of a. I must have been chatting while I was writing this. It's actually grid pos is what I want, isn't it? Not tile grid pos. Or is it? What's going on? What's the difference between grid pos? So grid pos is that minus grid offset, yeah. We work out that, then we offset y. Oh, hi, Grubby Juice, good to see you. It's not, is it tile data? Did I put grid size in there? Yeah, that's tile data.grid size minus y. Oh, that's probably going to be a +1 there as well, isn't that? Tile grid pos. Let's just dive in there. I get wrong there. Ah, okay. Why is it at this point tile data grid size minus y? So y, oh, grid pos self. Oh, okay. Cells grid offset min y. Hang on a minute, I changed that, didn't I? Grid width, that should be. Ah, maybe it was a different one. It's is it grid width dot blocks wide? Maybe I changed it to the wrong thing. It's too late in the day. Blocks wide, that's it. Self.blocks wide, I got that down there. Right. That's the trouble with only diving into code once a week and then doing it late in the day. Right, so now x, so grid pos is 0, yeah. X and y 0, 0. So we want this is yeah, that's wrong, isn't it? It's going to be +1 tile data minus grid size. Yeah, it's +1. Oh, hi, Simply Running. Good to see you. Nice picture of your chin as the avatar. Lovely. Right. 6. Grid size is 2. Minus y +1, isn't it? Or y is 3. Yeah. I'm almost tempted to go back and change my my block data to be index bottom left because everything else is index bottom left. Y is 0, so this should be 1. So grid size minus y +1, y comes out at 1, that's correct, right? So first position is going to be somewhere in there, through again, the next one. So we've got 66 and a 1. So 2 and 3. Ah, interestingly, actually. Of course, that's not quite. I need my grid data in my tiles actually has zeros. And it's 66. Is that a real? What's 66 in hex? 42. Okay, so it's just used 42 rather than 31. 42 being the block defined using that triangle and that triangle, whereas my ones here are defined using Oh, actually, that's because of the rotation. Yes. Anyway, where did I put that 66 in there? So what I actually want to do is make this grid data. I want to make it all. So let's do initialize it all to 0. So we want to do tile data dot grid size times tile data grid size. Then we want grid data I equals 0. So down here, if grid data dot I does, I can just or equals. Oh no, it does not equal 0. I.e., there's something already in there. Then we've got to shift this type up, shift the triangle up, but we add it to the grid pos. Otherwise, we just set it in the grid pos. Right. Okay. If I don't rotate the block and just let it, I'm not rotating it, am I? Oh no, there we go. What I'm going to do is just going to let it land exactly like it is, and let it get to there. So our grid data 40490 should match this one. So it's 4031 is in fact 49 in decimal. Yes, so it matches that one, which is good because that's the one that just landed. So now what I'm going to do is force my game block, new random block. Oh yeah, I added a variable, didn't I? It's a fixed test block. I'm going to set that to 0. So now when these land, we should have a block that kind of matches. So what if I do there? That should be 3 by 3 at this point. So tile data, yeah, grid size 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Got 0, 0, 0 on the top. 66, 1, 0 on the middle row, which is that one that's just landed. And then 66, 49, 36, which, however you look at it, should match different types of triangles. Sorry, different types of squares. Does it? Why are there 3 different ones there? 66, 49, 36. Is that right? 66, 49, and 36. I thought there was only 2 ways to define. Oh no, there are 4 ways to define a square, aren't there? Or are there? 66, 49. Grid data, let's come back in here. 66, 49, or 36. 66 is 42. I'm looking at type triangles 4 and 2, which is fine. 49 is 31, which is that one. What's 36? It's a 24. Oh, it's the other way around. So it's a 4 and a 2, or a 2 and a 4. Of course it is. Okay, so they are fine. Good. So that's a good thing. That's a good sign. So now what I want to do is, when the block lands, or at this point, create a node from this new block and outline it. So how do we do that? So in here, we do create tile node at rotation. So I want to borrow this, or I want to refactor this slightly so I can pass it in some data. Create a draw node to render a given tile number and rotation. This uses a bunch of, so it pulls out the tile data and it looks at the rotation. What I could do is create tile, there's that one, create tile node from block. Actually, is it create tile node at rotation from data, create tile node from data, that'll do. And we want data, that's basically going to be it, isn't it? I don't think about know anything else. Actually, it should be create tile node from data, rotation. So it's going to be all of this. Hi Lecan, or Lecan, good to see you. What did I do there? I meant to copy and paste, or meant to cut and paste. Cut that, paste it in there, and I want to change data to be, I could put it tile data, and in here, so that, this is going in here. Going to be return self dot create tile node from data td rotation r. Why I didn't call that rotation, I don't know. Might as well. N is the tile number. I should have called that tile num, shouldn't I? So I don't need to do that. But I want to refer to this as tile data. A bunch of, and that's rotation. Tile data, I could refactor this automatically if I trusted SlickEdit's refactor. Self.add block outline node. What's that? That's doing. So we're passing more numbers and rotations again down into here. So I want to refactor this one again to be data and rotation probably. So add block outline. Let's see, because all it really does is pull tile data. So add block outline. In fact, add block outline is probably only called in one place. Sorry, I'm not looking at the chat. No one's chatting. It's just him. I should make him a bit less chatty. But at least he said hi. In case I miss you joining. Yes. So I don't really need to worry about this node. All I really want to do is data, isn't it? Really, tile data. Tile data. Is that what I called it? Yeah, tile data. Does it use it anywhere else? It just uses n. The only point it refers to n is when it pulls out the tile data variable, doesn't it? TD. So node, tile data, and rotation. And rotation. It must use R down here somewhere. There it is, rotation. And do I want to? I just want to cheat, don't I? If I just do var td equals tile data, then I don't have to refactor everything or rename all the variables. So this is draw. Add the CC draw node geometry using draw segment calls to render lines. The node to add the outline to tile data from the tile data array and rotation. And it's actually the rotation number. It's not a rotation like in degrees or radians. It's 0, 1, 2, and 3 I use for the 4 90-degree rotations of the block. So that's node tile data rotation. And in here I can just pass in node tile data and rotation. And now I can call create tile node from data on my block of tile data. TV is not defined. What did I get wrong there? Missed that. Okay, tile data. Oh no, it's not tile data. That's the different thing, isn't it? Interesting. Oh no, it is tile data. Yeah. It's not just the block data, it's the actual tile data object. Right. Okay. That still works. Down. Yeah, I've still got an outline around my block there. Right. So now I can do create tile node from data. Doing self.addBlock. I don't want that, do I? I want oh no, I could actually do that. Yeah, I want to create a block without. I need another constructor. Can I do that? I wonder. Is it possible to overload the constructor with a different thing? I expect it is. So this is get. Pre-rotate all the tiles. Just notice this self.addBlock outline. I'm thinking I can use this function independently, but at the moment I don't think I can. It needs to be attached to a block object. Let's see, how do I pull this out? I need to so add block outline. So that works on all sorts of functions here. It works on the block data for the most part. I think also I might be less lazy, and that'll let me at least think about this function while I change these variables. Tile data. And then it's width, size. TD liquid size. So I think that's the last point we use TD. Yeah, hopefully JS Hint will warn me. Okay, that's right. So this only really has to operate on a node and some tile data, doesn't it? Now. The only reason it needs self is if it add block outline. Yeah, it's only ever called there. So this line is redundant. And now, yeah, self is defined but never used. So I can get rid of that. And I can I'm going to move this so that it's not part of the block object, but it's a static class method. I'm going to put it, I've got a couple of these already somewhere. There we are. Put it down here. Back. It's going to be aq.block.add_block_outline equals function. I could rename it. It's not add block outline now. It's going to be sort of create block outline, isn't it? Yeah, I'll do create block outline, and somebody came and went, but I didn't see who it was. That must have been Simeon Eves. Oh, and then the pop-up. My bot is a bit slow today. There's a bit of lag going on. So create block outline. That's what I need, I think, isn't it? Oh, I've got to put a semicolon down the bottom. And now up here, I can change this to, where am I going? There we are. aq.block.create block outline. I think self is defined. Of course, I don't need the self in there anymore. Right. Check that still works. Yep, got my outline around the block there. Now I can call this function to add the outline to this node, these groups as they're created, because it's now a static grid.js. Okay. So I want to do aq.block.create out. I want to call it already. Create block outline. Okay. Create block outline. I'm going to add it to. Tell you what I might do. So new make block from group. Actually, it's not make block, is it? It's make tile data from group. Return tile data. So self.make tile data one from group. What I actually want to do is make tile data from group. In here, that's all the cells. No, hang on, it's this one. Create block outline. Tile data rotation 0. Oh, it's node, isn't it? Node. And it's actually going to be self.fillParent.addChild. We're adding lots of nodes. So I'm rendering the this is awkward. I suppose I could just create a new node. I'm only halfway to creating a block object with the data, because I'm trying to get it done quick. I just want to see if the function works. I'm not rendering. Well, what I want to do is create blocks and then just render those blocks. But I haven't quite done all of that work yet because I've got to refactor the block constructor. I don't want to dive into that just yet. What I want to do is make a new node, add that to the fill parent at the position where, well, somewhere, add it somewhere. So tile data, and this is actually going to be fill index. Make tile from group fill index, and then self fill parent add child node. I'm just going to see where this puts it. It's not going to be positioned correctly yet, I don't think, but it'll be better than okay, let's do outline. See it anywhere would be good. Oh, there it is. Now, if I do that, yes, it makes one that's so it's positioned at 0, 0, and it's not drawn over the block drawing. So how do I position it? What I need to do is position it at the tile data X and Y. I could put that. I could just like augment the tile data for now, couldn't I? Let's stick tile data dot min x. I put tile data dot x equals min x, and tile data dot y equals min y. Store the xy coord of the tile block tile thingy. It isn't defined well enough yet for rendering. This should be temporary until a block is actually created. Right, and I can use tile data x and y to work out the position to draw the node at. So I want to do outline dot set position tile data dot x times block size. Sorry, I was just getting a bit of tea out of my teeth. It was miso soup actually. There's a little bit of tofu. Right. I'm confident that might be about where it needs to be. Yes, so that outline is now drawn separately to the blocks underneath it. When I do that, it creates a new outline that fills the entire shape. Excellent, but it's done using a block data. It's not done iteratively. And what I can do is, having got a structure that's effectively a tile data object that maps my dynamic block that's being built up as I land blocks down on the grid, but it matches this kind of structure, I can now create a block object from it by modifying the constructor. But I think I'm going to do that next on Thursday. That'll probably be a good point to think about a bit of refactoring. So what I'll do is I'll think about how to create these block objects properly. That will allow me to remove most of this rendering code because I'm just temporarily drawing triangles and things. Once I've actually got blocks created, there'll be a block which corresponds to the point in the grid where all these colors merge. I can just render that in one go. What I quickly want to do is just change my test block. Let's see if it works with multiple different groups. Yes, so the blocks are now, or the groups of color are now separate. If I stick one there, they merge. Excellent. That was not a bit, but this now looks like my old game did. You can't see it very easily at the moment, but there used to be an animated GIF on the live Coding TV page. What I might do is quickly bring it up again, actually, because this is, if I go to Safari, Control C, I was looking at my, let's do a quick pulse in pink. Yeah, right. What I want to do is open a file in my projects. Where's my AquaStax project gone? I thought it was there. Got all sorts of projects going on here. There it is. AquaStax. Stream assets somewhere in here. Could have sworn one of these was an animated GIF. I know where it is. I actually put it in my my project because I use it. If you go to the GitHub page, then you can see it. Now I want to load that to Safari. Open with Safari. There it is. So this is an animation of my original game. Zoom in a bit. Zoom in. Okay. I haven't actually got the game running itself. Let's go back out of it. There we go. So there we go. You can see the blocks have all merged together as they land. Let's see if I can see a bit more of it. This was one of the promo shots, I think. But you can get a little bit of an idea there. Never mind. I'm actually just going to play this for a little bit more, I think. Let's see. See if I can actually do a more Tetris-like solid setup. I'm going to mess it up straight away. That I can plug in there. Lovely. That little flash line is to do with the, I think it was to do with the sliding code, where it tries to calculate whether or not something is going to slide quickly. I can't put that down very easily. That one I could. Well, seems to be. I seem to have done what I set out to do. Blocks now merge together if you fill them with the same color. I think there was a scoring implication to this. If you had large blocks of solid color, they would actually score more highly than individual smaller groups of solid color. Can't remember the exact scoring mechanism now, but I shall work that out one day. These ones are a pain to group together. Ooh, that one slot in. Didn't quite get it. Never mind. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 groups. Yes, just counting the number of groups there. Actually, if I merge these together, it should go down to 8. Yes. Right. Excellent. I managed to do what I was going to do. Code's only kind of half finished because it's not properly creating block objects yet. Let's see if I can comment some of that just to remind myself in the future what I need to do. So what I do, I change this, I create a draw node to render a given tile number and rotation. This is actually create, let's see, so this one is create a draw, this isn't, create a draw node to render the given tile data at rotation. So tile data object. Normally rotation, right? Add to the scene. Yep. So where's the outline function I wrote? Here we go. So add the CC draw node outline geometry using draw node draw segment calls to render lines for the block outline. Node tile data for tile data rate rotation. Okay, so it's add creates. I'm going to change this. Creates the draw node geometry. Okay, this is used by the grid for rendering large, what do I call them? Large clusters or large combined blocks. Okay, that. Make tile data from group. Okay, given a cell combined cell group, make I can call it tile data object, like the predefined blocks or tiles within block.js. This will go towards creating actual block objects shortly. What I'm going to do here is put a to-do in. Make an actual block object at this point. Actually, I'm going to do it here. Make an actual block object at this point. Add it to the scene at the hi El Suizo. Good to see you. Anyone's I wasn't even paying attention to how many people were still watching. If you want to follow me on liveedu.tv, you'll get some fireworks on the screen at this moment, and then you'll get notified whenever I go streaming. I normally stream Tuesday evenings at 8 PM. I'm going to stream Thursday afternoons at 3 PM. Well, that's my normal Thursday afternoon stream. I'm going to do Thursday afternoon at 3 PM this week, but from this week onwards, or from next week onwards, I'm not going to be able to do 3 PM on Thursday afternoons anymore, so it'll be a later one. It'll probably be 8 PM on Thursday evening, like the Tuesday evening one is. Hopefully I'll be able to do that. I won't be too tired after my long day's work. We'll see. I may end up reducing my streams to one a week, and they might be on a Thursday or Friday. More likely I'll ditch the Tuesday one, but we'll see how it goes. Basically, I'm starting a new job, so I may not have as much time. But this week it will be 3 PM UK time on Thursday afternoon. Anyway, I was about to write something here. Make an actual block object at this point, add it to the scene at the appropriate position. Great. For rendering. And I'm going to update my recent refresh.txt. 21st. Stack clustering grouping. Build upon the flood fill routine to iterate over blocks of the same color, taking into account. Done that. Refactor the flood fill. I haven't done that yet, but reorganize. Oh, iCast, good to see it. Reorganize the make block code so it actually makes a real block object from the combined grid data. Sliding block. Oh yeah, there's one bug at the moment which I'm not worrying about at the moment just yet. I won't even go into describing the sliding block bug because it takes too long. Nicely individual outlined blocks until I merge one like that. Lovely. I can put one there. I can play this for ages now, but I'll do that off stream. Okay, let's just commit that to GitHub now then. Commit, that's what I wanted. See the button. And it's gone. Right. I think that's me done for the day. Oh, a little bit longer than I planned, 20 hour and 20 minutes, but at least it's working and it's doing what I hope. I can't slot that one in. Do there. Oh, I want another cyan coloured one. Come on. There he is. Now, if I pop that one there, yeah, it all merges into a nice wacky shaped block. Excellent, so it's all working. Right, thank you very much for watching, much appreciated. I will see you on Thursday afternoon at 3 PM UK time, if you're around then. If not, next week, same time hopefully, 8 PM UK time on Tuesday. And going to drop back to my splash screen, and then I shall see you soon. Thanks very much.